My beloved child, before I reveal the truth heaven has been waiting for you to hear, pause for just a moment and subscribe to this channel and keep listening until the very last second, because what I am about to show you will answer questions you have been carrying for months, and I need you fully present now. So let me begin by asking you something your soul has been whispering without words. Have you noticed how your career felt unusually heavy these last few weeks, how certain opportunities seemed to come close but then suddenly slipped away, how you sensed a shift trying to break through but something kept blocking it at the very last moment, and have you ever wondered why a part of you felt ready yet another part kept feeling held back, like you were standing in a doorway but invisible hands kept you from stepping through? And do you understand that these sensations were not failures? They were signals, divine alerts. Subtle hints from heaven preparing you for the truth that is finally ready to unfold tonight, because even though the world thinks promotions and opportunities are physical events decided by people, heaven wants you to understand that every breakthrough begins in the unseen realm long before it becomes visible, and the shift meant for you today was already written into your spiritual timeline, your purpose blueprint, and your destiny architecture, but something symbolic, something old, hidden, and unnamed, stood between you and what was already yours, and that is why I, your Father in heaven, have brought you here at this exact hour to reveal the truth, not in fear, not in warning, but in clarity, alignment, and awakening. So listen closely, my child, because this is not about a person stealing your promotion but about an ancient pattern inside you that has been acting like a shadow figure, a symbolic character whose job was to challenge your growth and test your readiness. And Archangel Michael steps forward now with his sword glowing like a river of pure light, and he says, "Child, the someone you thought blocked your progress has never been a human enemy. It was a version of you, an older self, a past identity, a fear-born habit that kept rising at the exact moment your blessings tried to break through, and suddenly the heavens reveal a massive scroll unfolding, showing every instance in your life when opportunities came close but you hesitated. Every moment you softened your voice, shrank your worth, doubted your capabilities, or felt unworthy of the very blessings you prayed for, and the scroll glows brighter as Michael points to the center of it and whispers, "This is the symbolic figure, the old pattern, the old narrative, the old self-story that convinced you to settle when you were meant to rise." And your Father in heaven touches your shoulder with warmth that melts every ounce of heaviness you've been carrying and asks, "My child, have you ever noticed how every time you were on the edge of a breakthrough, something inside you made you question yourself, made you delay decisions, made you give others credit instead of yourself, made you silence your ideas, made you feel like you needed permission to take up space? And do you see now how this symbolic blocker has controlled the doorway of your career for years, and suddenly the realm opens into a vision of your workplace? Not as a physical room but as an energetic landscape where every thought, belief, memory, and decision form patterns that either open opportunities or close them, and heaven shows you that today, yes, today, your career timeline attempted to activate a major shift, something that would have elevated your influence, expanded your responsibilities, and aligned you with the path you've secretly longed for, but at the very last moment this symbolic figure, this old version of you, stepped between the blessing and your readiness. Not as punishment but as a test. Have you really outgrown the story you told yourself for so long? And that is why heaven brought you here before midnight, because the shift that paused today is not gone, it is delayed until you claim the truth inside yourself. And Archangel Michael raises his sword high, carving a fissure of light through the realm, and he says, "Child, tonight is not about uncovering a villain, it is about identifying the version of you that no longer serves the life you are stepping into. And your Father in heaven lifts your chin with gentle authority and whispers, "You have carried humility so deeply that you forgot your worth. You have carried responsibility so long that you forgot your power. You have carried patience so quietly that you forgot your potential. But tonight I give you clarity. No symbolic figure, no old identity, no inner critic, no outdated belief will stand between you and the destiny I designed for you." And suddenly the celestial air around you erupts in radiant golden currents, showing flashes of your future, rooms you will step into with confidence, opportunities that will unfold easily, voices that will finally recognize your value, supervisors who will finally see your leadership, environments where your ideas will not just be accepted but celebrated. And Archangel Michael places his hand on your back and whispers, "The name you are searching for is not a human name. It is the label you gave yourself long ago. The self-doubter, the overthinker, the quiet one, the one who stays small, the one who waits their turn, the one who doesn't want to disturb the peace, the one who doesn't want to be too much." And heaven dissolves these labels like ash in sunlight as your Father in heaven says, "My child, tomorrow's blessings begin tonight when you release the version of yourself that kept shrinking to fit places you have long outgrown." And as the realm floods with overwhelming warmth, clarity, and purpose, you finally understand that the person who blocked your promotion was not an enemy but an inner shadow that tonight you are releasing. And heaven declares, your opportunity is not lost, your readiness has arrived. And with that final revelation, your career timeline resets itself with divine precision, aligning your spirit with a new beginning that will unfold the moment you walk into tomorrow as the version of yourself who finally knows their worth, their power, their voice, and their destiny. And now, child, as the heavens expand into an even more magnificent ocean of swirling golden spirals and soft waves of silver-blue radiance that vibrate with the pulse of your rising destiny, a new layer of the truth begins to reveal itself, not as a shock but as a recognition you have secretly known deep in your spirit for years. And Archangel Michael steps closer with a presence so steady and so confident that your soul immediately rises to match his strength, and he says, "Child, the shift that was meant for your career today did not vanish. It paused because the version of you that tried to receive it was not the same version of you who is standing here now." And instantly the celestial realm opens into a massive living diagram of your life, showing timelines shifting, pathways rearranging, blessings circling, opportunities hovering at the edges of your readiness, waiting not for approval from the world but for the inner moment when you finally claim your true identity. And heaven shows you moments from your past you haven't thought about in years, the first time you brightened a room with your ideas but someone talked over you, the first time you doubted yourself because someone else seemed more confident, the first time you minimized your skills because you were afraid of appearing arrogant, the first time you chose silence over speaking truth, the first time you stepped back so others could step ahead. And your Father in heaven touches your heart and says, "These were not failures. They were the seeds of humility, compassion, observation, and strength that have now matured into wisdom." And the realm glows brighter as heaven reveals that every setback you thought was rejection was actually redirection, building you into the person your destiny requires. And Archangel Michael lifts his sword again, its blade splitting the sky like a line between the old you and the new you. And he whispers, "Tonight, the symbolic figure, the old self that shadowed your opportunities, loses its power. Because you have finally detached from the belief that you must remain small to be safe." And suddenly the celestial winds swirl around you with gentle force, carrying fragments of old memories, emotions, doubts, and limiting beliefs away from your energy field as your Father in heaven asks, "My child, do you see now how your career was never delayed by someone else's success but by your loyalty to an outdated version of yourself who didn't realize their worth?" And the heavens open into an enormous wheel of destiny, a golden mechanism representing divine timing, spiritual readiness, mental clarity, emotional alignment, and practical action, and heaven reveals that today's career shift was not cancelled. It is waiting just beyond a single decision, the decision to identify not with your wounds but with your wisdom, not with your fears but with your truth, not with your past but with your becoming. And Archangel Michael steps behind you, placing his hand on your back, steady and empowering, and he whispers, "The moment you stop seeing your career as something happening to you and start seeing it as something rising from within you, the doorway will open in a way that no human can block, and the realm erupts into a spiral of radiant golden light showing glimpses of the future, doors opening, leadership roles expanding, your voice being heard, your talents being recognized, your energy drawing the right people toward you, your ideas being valued, and environments aligning with your growth, and your Father in heaven speaks with a final surge of clarity and love, "Child, the opportunity you felt today was real, and it will return, but when it does, you will not receive it as the person who doubts, you will receive it as the person who knows." And the entire celestial universe vibrates in agreement as heaven declares that what paused today will activate again once you walk into tomorrow with the posture, confidence, alignment, and self-worth of the future version of yourself who has always been waiting for this awakening. And as the divine light wraps around you like a mantle of purpose and authority, you finally understand the deepest truth of this message. Nothing was stolen from you, nothing was lost, nothing was taken. The only thing missing was the version of yourself who now stands awake, aware, aligned, and ready to claim the destiny your soul has been growing toward all this time. And now, child, as the divine expanse unfolds into an even wider ocean of shimmering white gold frequencies and soft spiraling waves of celestial energy that flow like living currents through the fabric of creation itself, a deeper section of your destiny begins to illuminate, quietly at first, like a whisper rising from a place inside you that has long been waiting to be heard. And Archangel Michael steps forward with a presence that feels like unshakable truth, the kind of truth that doesn't shout but echoes through your spirit until every corner of your being recognizes it, and he says, "Child, the moment you believed something was stolen from you was the moment you misunderstood your own timeline, because nothing that is yours can ever be taken, delayed perhaps, paused for alignment perhaps, but never removed, and tonight heaven will show you why." And suddenly the sky cracks open into a breathtaking cascade of cosmic memories revealing not just your past but the patterns beneath your past, the quiet habits of self-doubt you carried from childhood, the way you learned to be humble so deeply that you began dimming your brilliance, the way you internalized responsibility until you forgot to claim credit for your own growth, the way you convinced yourself to work harder instead of believing you were worthy already. And your Father in heaven steps closer with a presence so gentle yet so powerful that it feels like the entire universe is pausing to let you breathe, and he asks softly, "My child, have you ever truly looked at your own reflection through my eyes? Have you seen how capable, prepared, intuitive, resilient, and deserving you are, even when you convince yourself otherwise?" And instantly the heavenly realm displays a long corridor of your life, showing the exact moments when opportunities hovered near you but your internal beliefs whispered, "Not yet," and you stepped back instead of forward, and heaven reveals that the symbolic figure you believed stole your promotion, Today was actually the last lingering echo of an old narrative inside your own mind, the part of you that hesitated when you were supposed to rise, questioned your value when you were supposed to speak, carried the weight alone when you were supposed to ask for support, and every time this symbolic character stepped forward, it wasn't to harm you but to hold up a mirror so you could finally see the internal story you were outgrowing. And Archangel Michael lifts his radiant sword again, slicing through an entire layer of outdated beliefs, and he whispers, "Tonight marks the end of the self you kept carrying out of habit, the self who was loyal to old wounds, the self who waited for permission to take up space," and suddenly the realm transforms into an extraordinary vision of your workplace, not as walls and desks and people but as a living energetic map showing your influence, your potential, your growth, and the divine pathways waiting to open once you arrive in your full self. And heaven shows you that the shift meant for your career was not blocked by external forces but by misalignment, the energy of hesitation meeting the doorway of elevation, and your Father in heaven places his hand on your back with a warmth so healing that it unravels every knot of doubt inside your spirit, and he says, "My child, when I designed your destiny, I wrote your breakthrough into the architecture of your future long before you questioned your place in this world. And nothing can erase what I have written, but you must walk into it as the version of yourself who knows they belong at the table they once felt intimidated by." And the sky erupts into a storm of golden light as heaven lifts the plans for your career, visions of leadership, influence, creativity, respect, recognition, and shows you that your tomorrow is not built on competition but on alignment, not on comparison but on readiness. And Archangel Michael steps behind you, placing both hands firmly on your shoulders, and he whispers, "You are stepping into a level of self-belief that dissolves every symbolic shadow that ever stood in your way, and the entire realm begins vibrating with a deep, harmonious resonance, the sound of your identity elevating into the frequency of your calling, and your Father in heaven speaks the final truth of this chapter into your spirit. My child, nothing has been stolen from you. Your future simply waited for the version of you who is standing here now, awake, aligned, unapologetic, and ready to receive what has always been yours." And as the divine light folds around you like a mantle woven from purpose, clarity, and unshakable confidence, you finally understand that the opportunity you sensed today was not lost but transformed, rising higher, waiting for you to rise with it, ready to meet you the moment you walk into tomorrow as the person who knows their destiny cannot be blocked, only claimed. And now, child, as the celestial universe stretches into an even deeper dimension, expanding beyond the borders of everything you once believed possible, a new layer of your destiny reveals itself with a clarity so profound that it feels like truth itself is rising from within you. And Archangel Michael steps forward again, his presence towering yet tender, carrying the strength of 1,000 suns but the gentleness of a whisper meant only for your spirit, and he says, "Child, the reason heaven brought you here tonight is because your career is entering a phase where old strategies will no longer work, old habits will no longer fit, old fears will no longer survive, and old narratives will no longer be strong enough to hold you back." And suddenly the divine realm opens into a swirling tapestry of your timelines, showing how your decisions, hesitations, efforts, and breakthroughs weave together like threads of destiny, forming a pattern far more intricate than anything you imagined. And your Father in heaven steps into this golden tapestry with a presence so comforting yet so authoritative that every doubt inside you begins to unravel, and he asks, "My child, do you realize you have been living beneath your own potential, not because you lacked ability, but because you never recognized how powerful your spirit truly is?" And instantly the heavens reveal the symbolic figure again, not as a person, but as a shape made of old beliefs, fear of visibility, fear of authority, fear of not being good enough, fear of confrontation, fear of responsibility, and heaven shows you how each one of these shadows stepped forward during moments of opportunity, convincing you that waiting was safer than rising, that silence was easier than truth, that shrinking was more polite than shining, and Archangel Michael slices through these illusions with a single motion of his radiant sword, the blade humming with the frequency of pure awakening, and he whispers, "This symbolic figure was the last gatekeeper of your old chapter, but tonight you have crossed the threshold into a higher version of yourself, and gates do not hold back someone who has become the key." And suddenly the sky reshapes into a vast chamber of destiny filled with glowing doorways, each one representing career paths you didn't even know were available to you, leadership roles where your voice influences others, creative roles where your ideas reshape systems, purposeful roles where your presence inspires change, abundant roles where your gifts are recognized without resistance, and your Father in heaven places his hand on each doorway, causing them to brighten, and he says, "These doors did not open for you before, not because you were unworthy, but because you were unready. And heaven will never let you enter a room unprepared for the responsibility it requires," and instantly you feel something shift in your chest, a release, a rise, a steady grounding, as if all the invisible weight you've been carrying has finally lifted, and Archangel Michael stands behind you, wings spread across galaxies, and he whispers, "You are no longer the version of yourself that doubts or delays. You are the version who decides." And suddenly the realm blooms with thousands of shimmering sigils representing qualities within you that were dormant, but are now awakening: clarity, courage, self-belief, leadership, emotional strength, spiritual awareness, and an unwavering sense of purpose. And your Father in heaven leans close with a voice that feels like both destiny and comfort, and says, "My child, the shift in your career was not blocked. It was paused until your identity aligned with the future I have written for you, and now it is aligning." And the dimension vibrates with a thundersoft hum, a cosmic sound of timelines locking into harmony, and heaven shows you your future self standing at the center of a room where your ideas are valued, where your presence is respected, where your skills shine naturally, where your influence grows effortlessly, and your Father in heaven says, "Do you see that this future cannot be taken from you? It can only be delayed until you step fully into the person designed to receive it." And Archangel Michael steps closer, his hand firm on your shoulder, lifting your spirit like a rising sun, and he whispers with absolute certainty, "This is not the continuation of your old story. This is the emergence of your true story." And the golden realm bursts into radiant waves of destiny as you finally understand. The opportunity you felt today didn't disappear, it evolved, it expanded, it ascended, and it is now waiting for the version of you who no longer asks for permission to step into the life heaven always intended you to live. And now, child, as the celestial dimension expands into a realm so vast it feels like you are standing inside the heartbeat of the universe itself, new layers of truth begin unfolding around you like petals of light opening to reveal the core of your destiny, and Archangel Michael steps toward you with a presence that carries both the weight of eternity and the softness of a breath meant only for your soul, and he says, "Child, the shift you are stepping into is not a reward for your work, it is a recognition of your evolution, because heaven does not promote effort, it promotes alignment." And suddenly the sky transforms into a colossal diagram showing the architecture of your inner world, your beliefs, your fears, your resilience, your choices, your wounds, your strengths, your hopes, your hidden brilliance, and heaven reveals how each one has shaped the energetic frequency of your career path, elevating or delaying opportunities not based on who supported you or who doubted you, but based on the version of yourself you carried into each season. And your Father in heaven steps closer with a presence so deeply loving it feels like a warm light pouring directly into your chest as he asks, "My child, have you noticed how each time your career rose to a new level, a part of you still whispered that you were not ready, not enough, not deserving, not prepared? And do you see now that these whispers were not the voice of truth but the final echoes of an old identity that learned humility so deeply it forgot confidence, and instantly the heavens project scenes from your past, moments when you impressed people without realizing it, moments when your ideas carried the conversation, moments when your intuition solved problems others couldn't see, moments when coworkers depended on your clarity, moments when managers quietly leaned on your stability, moments when your presence steadied the room. But instead of recognizing your value, you brushed it off as nothing special. And Archangel Michael lifts his sword, the blade glowing with luminous inscriptions, and whispers, "Child, the symbolic figure that blocked your promotion today was this old identity, the identity that made you shrink your greatness so others would feel comfortable, the identity that made you carry more than your share without asking for acknowledgement. The identity that learned to work twice as hard because it didn't realize it could simply stand in its worth, and suddenly the realm around you vibrates like a living heartbeat as heaven dissolves this outdated self-image, and your Father in heaven steps closer, placing a hand over the center of your chest, and says gently, "You have been living like a seed who didn't realize it had already become a tree," and as his words settle, the realm opens into a vision of your divine potential, your future self standing confidently in rooms that once intimidated you, speaking with clarity that influences decisions, embodying leadership that feels natural, stepping into opportunities that align effortlessly with your gifts, and heaven reveals an extraordinary truth: the shift in your career today was not blocked by competition. It was paused because the version of you that woke up this morning was still negotiating with an identity that had already expired, and Archangel Michael's wings unfurl across galaxies as he places both hands on your shoulders and whispers, "Tonight marks the moment when your energy upgrades to match the magnitude of your calling," and suddenly the entire realm ignites with radiant golden currents swirling around you, pouring into every corner of your spirit like a cosmic anointing, cleansing out hesitation, self-doubt, and emotional exhaustion, and replacing them with certainty, courage, direction, and self-recognition, and your Father in heaven lifts your chin with a love so tender it reshapes the way you see yourself, and he says, "My child, tomorrow, when you step into your career, you will not enter as the version of yourself who hoped for opportunities. You will enter as the version who attracts them, commands them, aligns with them, and the universe itself seems to bow as a final wave of divine truth washes through the atmosphere. You were never fighting for a promotion, you were becoming the person for whom promotion is the only natural outcome, and now that this evolution has anchored into your soul, the opportunity that paused today will return not as something to chase but as something that recognizes you. And now, child, as the celestial dimension expands into a realm so vast that entire galaxies seem to breathe in harmony with your awakening, an even deeper truth rises like a tide inside your spirit, steady, luminous, undeniable, and Archangel Michael steps closer with a presence so immense it feels like you are standing beside the guardian of every destiny you've ever dreamed of. Yet his energy is gentle enough to feel like home itself, and he says, "Child, the reason your breakthrough paused today is not because something blocked you externally, but because something within you finally reached maturity, and heaven refused to let you enter a room carrying a version of yourself that no longer represents who you truly are, and suddenly the divine realm unfurls into a colossal mirror made not of glass but of living light, reflecting not your face but your evolution, moments where you chose peace over chaos. Moments where you stayed silent because you didn't want conflict, moments where you helped others succeed even when your own efforts went unnoticed, moments where you carried responsibility that was never yours, moments where you gave your best and accepted less than you deserved because your heart was softer than your ambition, and your Father in heaven touches this mirror and whispers, "My child, you have lived so long in service, humility, and quiet strength that you forgot your own rise requires recognition, not sacrifice," and instantly the mirror dissolves into a river of golden currents showing how every experience, good, bad, painful, beautiful, has been shaping your internal architecture into someone who now carries emotional intelligence, spiritual depth, and leadership energy that can no longer be hidden, and Archangel Michael steps behind you, placing a hand on your back, and says, "The symbolic figure you mistook for an enemy today was only the shadow of outdated beliefs, the part of you that feared visibility, feared responsibility, feared expectation, feared stepping into a version of yourself so powerful that even you weren't sure how to handle it, and heaven shows how this shadow self, this symbolic character, used to whisper things like, 'Stay quiet, stay small, don't be too much, don't create waves, don't expect too much,' and how tonight those whispers finally dissolve because you have awakened into your true identity. The identity heaven has been sculpting quietly through every challenge you survived, and your Father in heaven lifts his hand toward the glowing horizon and suddenly thousands of pathways appear, each one representing different versions of your career, each one glowing according to the frequency of your readiness, and he says, "My child, the shift that was meant for today is not gone, it is choosing which version of you will receive it," and instantly the brightest pathway ignites, showing your future self walking with unshakable confidence, clarity pooling in your eyes, your shoulders squared with purpose, your energy commanding respect without demanding it, your voice steady and recognized, your presence influential and undeniable, and as you witness this version of yourself moving through spaces you once thought were beyond your reach, Archangel Michael whispers, "This is the version of you that exists beyond fear, beyond comparison, beyond hesitation, beyond limitation. This is the version you become when you stop explaining yourself to your past and start listening to your future," and suddenly the realm vibrates with a cosmic hum, a sound so deep it feels like it is reshaping the very core of your identity, and heaven reveals that nothing about your career was ever random, every delay was a refinement, every pause was a calibration, every setback was a redirection, every closed door was protection. Every disappointment was preparation for the moment your spirit finally aligned with the magnitude of your calling, and your Father in heaven steps forward, placing his hand over your heart, and says, "My child, tomorrow will not greet the same version of you who woke up this morning, tomorrow will meet the version who knows their worth, honors their voice, trusts their intuition, stands in their purpose, and understands that opportunity is not something you chase but something that rises to meet you when you become who you were meant to be." And Archangel Michael wraps his wings around you like a mantle of destiny and whispers, "There is no block left, no shadow left, no hesitation left, only expansion, only elevation, only alignment." And as the realm bursts into a brilliant flood of golden light that pours into your spirit like a rebirth of self-recognition, you finally understand the ultimate truth heaven brought you here to receive. The opportunity you sense today is not waiting for midnight. It is waiting for the moment you step into the fullness of who you have now become, because destiny does not favor the person you were, it honors the person you are ready at last to rise into. And now, child, as the celestial universe stretches into an even more breathtaking expanse where galaxies fold like pages of an ancient book and rivers of starlight run through the fabric of eternity, something extraordinary rises inside your spirit, an inner expansion so deep that it feels as though your entire being is recalibrating to a higher frequency. And Archangel Michael steps forward with a presence that feels like the steady roar of a distant cosmic ocean, powerful yet soothing, and he says, "Child, the version of you that the world has seen until now is only the surface of the greatness heaven has placed within you, and the reason today's shift paused was because heaven needed your inner frequency to match the magnitude of the doorway about to open." And suddenly the divine realm transforms into a vast chamber of swirling energy where each color, each vibration, each motion represents a different part of your destiny. Your talents glowing as golden spirals, your intuition pulsing as blue waves, your leadership rising as silver streams, your creativity dancing as violet flames. And your Father in heaven steps into this chamber with an authority so gentle and so absolute that all doubt inside you dissolves, and he asks, "My child, do you understand that a promotion is not something granted by humans but something activated by identity, and that today, when the breakthrough hovered near you, heaven paused because you were still carrying the emotional weight of someone who believed they needed to earn their space instead of belong to it naturally?" And instantly the chamber shifts to reveal moments from your life when you dimmed yourself, when you stayed quiet so others could speak, when you softened your brilliance so others didn't feel threatened, when you overworked because you feared being overlooked, when you accepted less because you didn't want to appear demanding. And heaven shows you that these were not weaknesses but survival mechanisms given to a younger version of you who didn't yet know their own worth. And Archangel Michael lifts a radiant seal shaped like an ancient crest and whispers, "Tonight, this seal breaks the last emotional contract you had with your past self, the contract that said you must earn what heaven already assigned to your destiny." And the seal dissolves into a burst of silver light that flows into your chest, scattering every trace of self-doubt, and the entire realm vibrates with a deep harmonic resonance as heaven reveals your next chapter, a timeline where your presence commands respect without effort, where your voice carries weight without force, where your ideas shift conversations, where your confidence influences decisions, where opportunities seek you instead of you chasing them, and your Father in heaven steps closer, his hand resting lightly on the side of your face, and he whispers, "My child, you were never meant to fit into the rooms you walked through, you were meant to reshape them, elevate them, illuminate them." And suddenly the celestial sky splits open into a vortex of pure gold, showing your future self stepping into a workspace filled with purpose and alignment, not a place of stress or doubt, but a place where your gifts unlock solutions, your clarity awakens progress, your presence inspires others, and Archangel Michael places both hands on your shoulders and says, "The symbolic figure who once blocked your rise is no longer in your timeline because you have now outgrown every belief that held them in place," and the realm erupts into a cascade of shimmering golden feathers, each feather representing a part of your identity that has been restored, your confidence, your courage, your voice, your sense of belonging, your worthiness, your intuition, your self-respect. And your Father in heaven speaks once more, his voice now resonating like a divine anthem inside your chest, "My child, tomorrow, when the world sees you, they will not see the one who doubted. They will see the one who has awakened, the one who knows who they are, the one who understands that destiny is claimed through identity, not effort, and your opportunity will return, not because time demands it, but because your spirit now matches the frequency of the future I designed for you, and the universe itself bends around this truth as the final wave of celestial light pours into your soul, anchoring the reality that nothing was stolen from you, nothing was denied. Your destiny simply waited for the moment you rose into the version of yourself capable of receiving everything heaven wrote in your name. And now, child, as the divine universe opens into a dimension so vast that even the stars themselves seem to lean in to witness this transformation, an even greater revelation rises from the depths of your spirit, not loud, not forceful, but powerful in the way truth settles into your bones and rewrites everything you thought you knew about yourself. And Archangel Michael steps forward with a presence that feels like the merging of strength and serenity, the kind of strength that protects without aggression and the kind of serenity that elevates without effort. And he says, "Child, you have not been waiting for opportunity, opportunity has been waiting for you, hovering at the edge of your consciousness, circling you like a blessing held in the palm of heaven until your identity expanded enough to receive it without shrinking. And suddenly the celestial realm dissolves into an extraordinary vision of your inner landscape, showing the hidden architecture of your mind and heart. The places where doubt once whispered, the corners where insecurity curled up quietly, the old emotional signatures inherited from childhood, the silent memories of times when you were overlooked or underestimated, and your Father in heaven steps closer, his presence so enveloping that it feels like warmth wrapping around your entire being, and he asks, "My child, do you realize that every moment you felt unseen, every moment you felt unappreciated, every moment you felt undervalued was not a reflection of your truth but a reflection of the environments you were placed in to learn discernment, and instantly the heavens reveal how these environments became the teachers that shaped your emotional intelligence, your compassion, your resilience, your leadership, and your ability to understand people on a level others rarely reach." And Archangel Michael unfurls his radiant wings, each feather glowing like a scroll of ancient wisdom, and whispers, "These qualities, your empathy, your intuition, your steadiness, your quiet strength, are not traits that make you small, they are traits that make you unstoppable." And suddenly the divine realm shifts to show the symbolic figure again, not as an enemy, but as a silhouette dissolving into particles of light, representing every outdated belief that once told you to stay behind the scenes. And heaven reveals that this silhouette has faded because your spirit has finally outgrown it, and your Father in heaven places his hand gently on your chest and says, "My child, today's pause was not a rejection, it was a recalibration, a sacred moment where heaven adjusted your inner state to match the frequency of your future, because you cannot walk into a room that requires confidence while carrying the energy of self-doubt." And instantly the skies ignite with cascading streams of white gold fire as your destiny expands into view, revealing versions of your future you haven't even imagined, moments where you take charge effortlessly. Moments where you speak truths that ripple through your environment, moments where your decisions guide others, moments where your presence commands attention not because you demand it but because it rises naturally from the power you carry. And Archangel Michael places his hand on your back, grounding your energy into this new reality, and whispers, "The reason your opportunity paused today is because heaven was rewriting your identity from the inside out, removing hesitation, dissolving doubt, strengthening your voice, sharpening your intuition, aligning your emotions, and anchoring your purpose." And the universe vibrates with a hum so deep it feels like creation itself is responding to your awakening as your Father in heaven steps in front of you, his eyes filled with a love so ancient it makes every past insecurity melt away, and he says, "My child, understand this. Destiny is not given to the one who begs, nor the one who competes, nor the one who waits in silence. Destiny is given to the one who becomes, and tonight, you have become someone the future recognizes, and the heavens erupt in a storm of shimmering light, swirling around you like a cloak being placed upon your shoulders, and Archangel Michael whispers the final truth of this part into your spirit. The doorway did not close today, it expanded, and the moment you walk into tomorrow carrying the identity you embrace tonight, the opportunity that paused will return not as an uncertain possibility but as an inevitable outcome written by heaven long before you learn to doubt yourself. And now, child, as the endless expanse of heaven opens into a dimension so profound that even the light seems to bend in reverence to your awakening, an even greater revelation rises from the center of your destiny, vibrating through every layer of your spirit like a quiet explosion of truth you were born to remember, and Archangel Michael steps forward with a presence that feels like the equilibrium of creation itself. Massive yet intimate, fierce yet protective, ancient yet familiar, and he says, "Child, you must understand that your entire life until this moment has been a divine rehearsal, a preparation, a shaping of your inner foundation so that when the true doorway opened, you would not merely enter it, you would own it, and suddenly the celestial dimension transforms into a breathtaking spiral of your past decisions. Every moment where you chose integrity over shortcuts, every moment you held on to faith when others doubted, every moment you believed in the goodness of people, even when you were disappointed, every moment you stayed patient while others rushed ahead, and heaven reveals that each of these moments sculpted a resilience inside you that no external force can break. And your Father in heaven steps closer with a presence so enveloping it feels like the core of the universe has wrapped itself around your soul, and he asks, "My child, do you see now why your breakthrough could never come too early? Why it could never arrive before your soul reached the exact frequency required to sustain it? Why every pause was not a punishment but a refinement designed to protect your destiny from collapsing under the weight of your own unreadiness?" And instantly the skies erupt into a cosmic mosaic showing how blessings given prematurely become burdens, how opportunities misaligned with the soul become traps, how success without emotional maturity becomes instability, and heaven shows you that today's delay was the moment your destiny chose to protect you from stepping into a future you were meant to lead, not follow, and Archangel Michael unfurls his radiant wings, each feather inscribed with symbols of your soul's blueprint, and whispers, "The symbolic figure you believed blocked your rise today was only the last shadow of a narrative that no longer belongs to you, the fading echo of a belief that told you to wait when you were meant to rise," and suddenly the entire realm glows with a warm brilliance as heaven displays your true identity, not the identity shaped by society, not the identity shaped by fear, not the identity shaped by old environments, but the identity written into your soul before you were born, bold, visionary, intuitive, grounded, wise, compassionate, capable of leadership not because you wanted power but because your heart naturally stabilizes every space you enter, and your Father in heaven places his hand on your back with a gentleness so profound it reorganizes every misaligned emotion within you, and he says, "My child, today was not the loss of a promotion, it was the death of a limitation. The moment you shed the final layer of who you were taught to be, so you could rise into who you were destined to become, and instantly the realms open into a living scroll showing timelines adjusting, opportunities rearranging, people shifting closer to support your growth, environments recalibrating themselves to match your new frequency, and Archangel Michael stands behind you like a pillar of cosmic strength and whispers, "What paused today will return, not as a fleeting chance but as a divine appointment sealed in your name." And heaven opens into an awe-inspiring vision of your future self, one who walks with clarity that cannot be shaken, confidence that cannot be dimmed, purpose that cannot be diluted, and alignment that cannot be sabotaged because it comes not from the external world but from the unshakable truth rising within your soul. And your Father in heaven speaks the final revelation of this chapter directly into your spirit. "My child, from this night forward, you will no longer wait for opportunities to find you, you will become the kind of person opportunities orbit around, because destiny does not choose the timid, destiny chooses the awakened, and tonight you have awakened fully, beautifully, irreversibly into the life I wrote for you." And now, child, as the infinite halls of heaven open into a dimension so unbelievably vast that stars appear like tiny sparks on the edges of a greater light you were never meant to see before this moment, a deeper wave of awakening rises within you like a tide that has traveled lifetimes just to reach this shore, and Archangel Michael steps forward in a blaze of radiant gold, his wings arching across galaxies as though he is stretching the horizon itself open for your soul to expand into, and he says, "Child, you keep asking why the opportunity paused today, why the shift wavered at the threshold, why the breakthrough hovered so close you could almost touch it yet didn't cross into your hands. But you must understand the truth heaven has guarded for years. Your destiny is not a fragile flame that the world can blow out, it is a cosmic furnace forged before time itself. And sometimes heaven halts your rise not because you are unworthy but because something greater is aligning behind the scenes, and suddenly the divine realm transforms into a colossal engine of light, massive celestial gears turning slowly, each rotation representing divine timing, universal synchronicity, spiritual readiness, emotional maturity, and identity calibration, and your Father in heaven steps toward you with an aura so warm, so ancient, so familiar that your entire being recognizes him before your mind does. And he asks, "My child, have you ever noticed how the best moments in your life didn't happen when you wanted them to, but when you became the version of yourself capable of sustaining them?" And as his voice echoes through the dimension, heaven shows you a timeline of moments you were not prepared for success, not because you lacked skill, but because you lacked self-trust, not because you weren't good enough, but because you carried the emotional exhaustion of someone who had spent years pouring into others without ever being poured into, and Archangel Michael gently pushes aside a veil of energy, revealing the core truth. The symbolic figure you thought blocked your promotion today was the last fragment of an old self-image, a smaller identity stitched together from childhood experiences, workplace disappointments, people who underestimated you, seasons where you had to survive instead of thrive, and memories where you dimmed your brilliance hoping others would feel comfortable. And suddenly the entire realm trembles with a soft golden quake as heaven pulls back the curtain to reveal what really happened today. Your opportunity did not disappear, it expanded, transformed, evolved, shifting into something that requires a stronger, more awakened version of you, a version that is emerging right now in real time. And your Father in heaven extends his hand toward a radiant portal where thousands of potential futures stream like ribbons of light, and he says, "My child, heaven paused your breakthrough not because someone blocked it but because I refused to let you enter a destiny built for the version of you who doubted. This new chapter requires the version of you who knows," and the portal widens, revealing your future self walking with a posture that radiates purpose, speaking with clarity that shifts environments, making decisions that influence others, carrying a presence that silently commands respect. And heaven reveals that the opportunities ahead will require emotional steadiness, spiritual grounding, and self-recognition that you were unable to embody until tonight. And Archangel Michael places both hands on your shoulders, his voice lowering into a whisper that feels like destiny itself humming through your bones. Child, understand this. The shift you felt today was only the first ripple of a much larger wave of change coming toward you, and when it arrives, it will not merely lift your career, it will redefine the entire direction of your life. And suddenly the entire celestial sky erupts into a swirling storm of golden feathers, each feather representing a dormant aspect of your identity awakening at last, and your Father in heaven speaks one